Hi everybody, Jack O'Malley, and coming to you again from the office here in Lansing. We're in session today. I am recording this a little bit before session, but we did have the COVID Oversight Committee this morning, bright and early at 8 a.m. So I will update you on that. But a couple of things I want to touch base on too. First of all, I hope everybody had a great holiday. I did appreciate a 3-day weekend. That was fun. But I do want to stand corrected. You know, I try to always be as right as rain, but sometimes I'm not 100% right. And I want to clarify something. Somebody brought it up to me last week in a message, and I thought, maybe I better double check. So I've been saying that the legislators' case would be taken up this week in the Supreme Court, along with the doctors and the other case that's the Supreme Court's taken up. But I wanted to make sure. So I sent a letter to our legal beagle. He's a great guy. And I asked him, am I right? Am I wrong? And I love this answer. He says, you're both wrong and somewhat right. Our case is technically not combined, at least yet, with the certified questions case, which we'll talk about in a second, which will be heard today at 9:30. However, we've asked to participate in that hearing so that our unique perspective can be heard. The court granted that request, so they'll have 5 minutes. Other parties will also be awarded some time in that case. But for the legislature's case against the governor for the 1945 law, I stand corrected. It has not been scheduled yet by the Supreme Court. So thank you for pointing that out to me. I stand corrected, though it's very important, this case. And let's talk about the case with the doctors. This is from the Mirrors News Agency, their story. An elderly woman was hours away from losing her leg when the governor's executive order prohibiting non-emergency procedures kept her from getting a stent to help blood flow. Another patient, a diabetic who developed gangrene, underwent a foot amputation and died shortly thereafter from complications. This completely avoidable and did not have to happen, according to physician's assistant Jordan Warnholtz, owner of Wellston Medical Center and Primary Health Services in Wellston, which is in my district 101st, and he's one of the plaintiffs. His account came as part of the Mackinac Center for Public Policy's preview of today's Supreme Court oral arguments. If the plaintiff wins, the Supreme Court decision, if one is made, would control outcomes in other pending lawsuits challenging Whitmer's executive orders under the 76 law and the 45 law. So it does have balance and importance to the legislature's case. Dr. Randall Baker, a plaintiff in the case, said he had a patient who wasn't allowed to get a procedure deemed elective surgery under the governor's orders, and the patient was later admitted to a psychiatric unit after attempting suicide. The speakers were asked why physicians didn't deem the patients cited as emergencies, which were allowed under the EOs. Baker said medical staff couldn't figure out exactly what was meant, because hospitals and medical staff may have interpreted what constituted an emergency differently than were the rules, and not necessarily given to us as an executive order. Here's the vague and arbitrary executive orders. What does this mean? Two people, two different views. Patrick Wright, Vice President of Legal Affairs for the Mackinac Center and Director of the Foundation, said they will tell the court that unless it construes the 45 Act in conjunction with the 76 and imposes a 28-day limit on the governor's ability to execute orders, a giant separation of powers exists. I would agree. Legislation intended to prevent frivolous lawsuits against the businesses related to COVID-19 could have an opposite effect, according to Deborah Freed of the Michigan Association of Justice, told the House Judiciary Committee. There is pending legislation that would limit and give some protections to businesses and whatnot during this COVID situation, because anybody could sue for any reason, my words. There is very, very little likelihood that an attorney will take a case like those that are most concerned about, that idea that someone will claim they contracted COVID while in or at your business. Those cases are very unlikely to be taken up. That according to Deborah Freed of the Michigan Association of Justice. Charles Owens of the National Federation of Independent Businesses disagreed. The problem is the vast majority of our members never see the inside of a courtroom. because they can't afford to prove they were right. We've seen this in other areas of the law where the plaintiff's bar has been an activist in pursuing small businesses with settlement strategy that says, we'll bring this lawsuit unless you settle with us. Those businesses go to their attorney and say, we didn't do anything wrong, we can't prove it. And their attorney says, fine, you'll go broke trying. And so they settle up. The package would limit liability for COVID-19 claims unless it could be shown by clear and convincing evidence that injuries were caused by reckless disregard of a substantial and unnecessary risk that an individual would be exposed to COVID-19. Owen said the recent survey of NFIB members showed that 1 in 5 is in danger of losing their business in the next 4 to 5 months. Since small business makes up half the businesses in Michigan, that would be a serious blow to the state's economy. Now, some of the things I'm talking about here aren't all that sexy, but they are vastly important in the discussion of the state's response to COVID, right? Or how we're not responding. So then there's this one I think is pretty interesting too. The number of new coronavirus cases reported during the first week of September were nearly 22% fewer than those reported weeks and months earlier at the onset of the summer spike in confirmed cases. This data from DHHS. They also say on outbreak reporting also shows that the number of outbreak clusters grew in certain settings, the most significant being in long-term care and nursing home facilities. Its outbreak cluster grew by 15 as of last Thursday, the most recent data available. Those outbreaks have also been noticeable on college campuses since students returning for a mixture of in-person and distance instructions. Between August 30th and Saturday, DHHS reported 3,001 confirmed cases, which was down 21.8%. And the number was too many numbers. I won't go there. You got the idea. Following increases in outbreaks of the last 3 weeks, number 1, long-term care facilities with 15, agriculture and food processing with 2, now these are bars and restaurants. I think this is interesting because remember, bars and restaurants have been either closed or restricted. Bar employee associated, 3. Bar employee and patron, 0. Restaurant employee associated, 5. Restaurant employee and patron, 0. So our numbers are down. Where is it here? Michigan reported, this was as of yesterday, Michigan reported 441 new cases of COVID-19 yesterday, the lowest number since August 20th. The state also said 1 death. All of this, again, I point out, if you think the governor's response has been overblown or out of whack, everything I just said to you, you're nodding your head. If you think the governor has acted perfectly, you think I'm a horse's patoot. I'm talking to those people in the middle that need to realize, people in the middle that need to realize that we can do this safely and responsibly. And I'll give you an example. Today in COVID, we had Senator McBroom, the fine senator from Vulcan in the Upper Peninsula. He chairs the Senate Oversight Committee, and they've had nursing home discussions. So he came in to talk about the nursing home situation. And then we had a very nice doctor, Dr. Betty Chu from the Henry Ford Hospital Company. And she led the state task force on nursing homes. And I'll just combine their testimonies. And I'm going to link the task force findings on this page a little bit later. You'll see them pop up because I think you should read the report. There's some things in there I agree with, some things I don't. But overall, pretty comprehensive. And one of the things that the report said is we need to get them out of this hub situation and have dedicated care facilities that are separated from nursing homes. And one of the things that Senator McBroom said, and it struck me because this is the way I look at all of this. I don't think anybody in anything that's happened here has done anything with malicious intent, other than maybe those 2 dirtbags, alleged dirtbags, from UIA who tried to scam the system. I think everybody else was acting quickly. They were trying to do their best. Same thing with nursing homes and elderly. There was a decision made, right or wrong, a decision made that at the time was, all right, let's do this. But, and this is what I asked Senator McBroom, have you gotten any indication that they're going to change course? Have you gotten any indication of this, that they've seen that there's a problem? And his answer was no. And that is the problem that we have. Okay, you did it. You thought it was the right thing. But now, as the vast majority of our deaths are from the elderly in that group in nursing homes, why do we continue to do that? So then I asked Dr. Chu, who had, let me find my note here, who this report was sent to the governor's office. I said, you know, doctor, we've had people testify that they've had protocols in place, that they have sent this information to the governor's office, and it sat for months. Have you been given any assurances that these recommendations from the task force will be taken up, and in what time frame? And she really didn't have an answer. So I worry about that. But a couple things that the task force, and this is why I want you to look at, because I think this is important. They really addressed the physical and mental state of patients and residents in long-term care facilities, the isolation, the non-visiting, the human interaction just wasn't there for months, and that's torture. So we've got a big problem there. I believe next week we're going to have Director Gordon of DHHS back in to dig deeper into this nursing home situation. So that's what I got for you. It's been, like I said, not necessarily any big slap, bang, bam, boom information, but I think it all is showing a very important pattern that our management of the COVID situation after that first month has really been poor. So again, if you think the governor is totally whacked, you're Jack, you're preaching to the choir. If you are a person who thinks the governor has been 100% right, I'm a horse's patoot. If you're in the middle there, I want you to start paying attention, thinking a little deeper into all of this, because intentions might have been pure, but once you see that those intentions aren't working, businesses are going out of business, people are dying, whatever the case may be, you need to adjust and change course. I was thinking during this committee today, even the captain of the Titanic, when he saw that iceberg, tried to steer away. I don't believe we've tried to steer away, or at least turn as hard as we could. Have a good evening. We'll report back on Friday. I'll keep you informed. Thank you for watching. Look for that link. I'll get it posted. I think you'll find interesting reading from that task force if you haven't seen it already. Have a good evening.